Deadly consequences. Wife murderer's final stand against police. For the homicide of his spouse, Susan, San Clemente fertility specialist Eric Scott Sills was given a state prison sentence of 15 years to life. Sills employed a disturbing scenario in which he strangled his wife to death while attempting to justify her demise as an unintentional incident. A comprehensive account of the events that transpired prior to his conviction follows. Background. At the time, 58-year-old Eric Scott Sills and his spouse, Susan Sills, shared a picturesque residence valued at $1 million, situated amidst the tranquil environs of San Clemente. Their 12-year-old twins appear to have completed their idyllic existence, indicating a bright future replete with familial joy. However, concealed beneath the outward appearance of harmonious domestic relations, the couple concurrently operated a well-known fertility clinic situated in Carlsbad. Their clinic served as an emblem of optimism for innumerable couples desiring the happiness that come with becoming parents, solidifying their standing as community pillars. However, this ostensibly flawless depiction was marred by tragedy when Susan met a bleak demise. The untimely demise of the individual in question caused profound repercussions in their formerly peaceful neighborhood, revealing an intricate network of falsehoods and dishonesty. The severity of the situation was further exacerbated by the prosperous and successful environment, as the Sills narrative shifted from one of prosperity to one marked by sorrow and suspicion. Occurrence. A distress call to 911 disrupted the serenity of the residence owned by Eric and Susan Sills in November 2016. Eric asserted that his wife had regrettably descended the stairs during the night and described the distressing awakening to find her lifeless and pulseless body. At first portrayed as a tragic accident, the circumstances evolved into something more nefarious as investigators conducted further inquiry. Discrepancies surfaced, which caused Eric's account to be questioned and sparked suspicions regarding the actual cause of Susan's demise. The forensic analysis unveiled indicators that were not consistent with a straightforward fall, which led to a reassessment of the conditions surrounding her demise. An incident that originated as an ordinary emergency contact escalated into an intricate inquiry, revealing an intricate web of deceit and betrayal. The occurrence initiated the somber phase in the Sills Chronicle, one that was filled with mystery, doubt, and ultimately the quest for retribution for a life lost under dubious conditions. Investigation. An exhaustive examination conducted by investigators into the untimely demise of Susan Sills yielded disconcerting revelations that contradicted the initial account provided by Eric Sills. In contrast to his assertions regarding a tragic descent of the stairs, strangulation was unequivocally determined through forensic analysis to be the cause of Susan's death. This profound disclosure disrupted the veneer of a lamentable mishap, thereby generating doubt regarding Eric's complicity in the demise of his spouse. Moreover, the identification of blood in the bedroom of their daughter introduced an additional perplexing aspect to the inquiry. Suzanne, who was seeking sanctuary in the room as a result of a migraine, was alarmed to discover blood, which indicated a far more sinister disturbance than she had initially suspected. The stark contrast between a sanctuary and a crime scene served to emphasize the gravity of the tragedy and the critical nature of determining the truth regarding Susan's untimely death. As additional evidence was uncovered, the inquiry further explored the obscurity that had previously enveloped the Sills' ostensibly placid home. Legal proceedings. During the court proceedings, the defense team for Eric Sills implemented a strategy of casting doubt by presenting alternative scenarios in an effort to undermine the prosecution's case. It hypothesized that the strangulation markings could have been unintentionally produced by the family dog stuck on a scarf, thereby deflecting interest away from the alleged involvement of Eric. Furthermore, they argued that the blood discovered in the chamber might have been caused by an exposed nail on the nightstand, thereby diverting attention from any malicious intentions. By means of these rationales, the defense endeavored to implant doubt within the jurors' minds, thereby constructing an image of culpability in the midst of an enigmatic and tragic demise. Prosecution's argument. The prosecution constructed a persuasive storyline, asserting that Eric Sills was responsible for the death of his wife. It was their contention that he suffocated Susan during a turbulent altercation, and then fabricated the scene to appear as though it were a tragic accident. Deputy District Attorney Jennifer Walker underscored Suzanne's dubious placement at the base of the stairs, which deviated from the cardiopulmonary resuscitation (CPR) protocol mandated by emergency dispatchers. This brought to light deliberate plans intended to mislead governing bodies. By employing methodical examination of evidence and strategic delivery, the prosecution effectively portrayed Eric Sills' guilt in a compelling manner, compelling the jury to contemplate the intentionality of the offenses he was accused of committing. Sentencing and verdict. After an extensive day of deliberation, the jury returned a guilty verdict on the charge of second-degree murder against Eric Sills. His 15-year-to-life sentence in state prison was rendered by the court, signifying the conclusion of an extended legal dispute. Todd Spitzer, the district attorney of Orange County, condemned the heinous deeds committed by Sills and emphasized the family's profound and enduring devastation. Spitzer emphasized the grievous deprivation endured by the children, who were compelled to confront existence without their mother as a result of their father's incomprehensible deeds. The sentencing acted as a solemn reminder of the long-lasting consequences of domestic violence, inflicting a psychological wound on the community and stimulating contemplation regarding the imperative for fairness and assistance for those affected. Irrespective of the verdict, the family would perpetually bear the emotional scars caused by the violent deeds of one individual, serving as a poignant reminder of the tragic repercussions. In conclusion, the Eric Sills case serves as a lamentable illustration of the perils associated with domestic violence and the extent to which certain persons will go to obscure their transgressions. In spite of his protracted legal dispute, and despite his efforts to manipulate the scene and deceive investigators, justice ultimately prevailed. Throughout the progression of the case, and in light of the incriminating evidence levied against Eric Scott Sills, his defense team initiated an unrelenting effort to undermine the police investigation's credibility. By capitalizing on every conceivable circumstance, their objective was to undermine the credibility of law enforcement and implant a sense of doubt within the jury's perception. The defense attorneys for Eric Sills vigorously contested the methodologies utilized by the police and investigators throughout the duration of the trial. The investigation was thoroughly examined in all facets, including the methods employed during interrogation and the techniques utilized to gather evidence. The crux of their contention was that the police had hastily formed an opinion, concentrating exclusively on Eric Sills as the primary suspect, without conducting sufficient investigation into alternative hypotheses or pursuing other plausible avenues of inquiry. Perceived inconsistencies within the police investigation were emphasized by Eric Sills' defense team as a strategic maneuver to undermine the prosecution's case. They cast doubt on the dependability of forensic analysis and witness testimony by highlighting voids in the evidence. Additionally, they levied allegations against the police, contending that they failed to notice pivotal pieces of evidence that might have exonerated Eric Sills and redirected focus from their client. At the core of their contention was the claim that law enforcement had fallen victim to tunnel vision, immediately attributing the crime to Eric Sills and ignoring any evidence that challenged this account. The authorities were depicted as being excessively motivated to obtain a conviction, even if it meant disregarding alternative explanations or pursuing leads that diverged from their preconceived notion of the crime. Moreover, throughout the investigation, any perceived misconduct or procedural errors made by the police were immediately seized upon by Eric Sills' defense team. Their objective was to depict the authorities as excessively zealous and susceptible to manipulation, thereby creating an impression of a defective system wherein the accused's rights were disregarded in the quest for securing a conviction. During their closing arguments, the defense attorneys for Eric Sills pleaded with the jury to adopt a discerning and scrutinizing stance towards the case, imploring them to contemplate the potential existence of police bias and misconduct. Their position was that the police investigation was inherently defective and tainted with prejudice, and that Eric Sills had been singled out unjustly to cover up a crime that he had not committed. In the end, although the defense's endeavors to cast doubt on the police's credibility might have implanted doubts in the minds of the jury, the preponderance of the evidence against Eric Sills was overwhelming. Notwithstanding their utmost endeavors to divert attention from their client, the veracity of his responsibility ultimately triumphed, culminating in his wrongful conviction for the homicide of his spouse, Susan. As the case of Eric Scott Sills draws to a close, it stands as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic violence and the lengths to which individuals may go to conceal their crimes. Despite his attempts to manipulate the scene and deceive investigators, justice prevailed, albeit after a prolonged legal battle. Throughout the trial, Eric Sills' defense team vigorously contested the credibility of the police investigation, attempting to sow seeds of doubt in the minds of the jury. However, the overwhelming evidence against Sills ultimately led to his conviction for the murder of his wife, Susan. As Orange County District Attorney Todd Spitzer condemned Sills' actions, the sentencing served as a somber reminder of the enduring repercussions of domestic violence. While the verdict brought a measure of closure to the case, the emotional scars inflicted upon the family would continue to linger, a poignant reminder of the tragic consequences of one man's violent actions. Would you like it? Hit the like button and subscribe to our channels for more interesting and informative videos.